Okay. All right, we're gonna go with this group. All right. All right, welcome scholars. All right. Let me make sure. I think you guys can hear me, so we're gonna go with it. Let me see if I can see it here. Yeah, it looks like it's getting through. Okay. All right. So, welcome, scholars. We are here. This is Calculus for Business with Professor Pfeiffer, right? So, a little bit about a little bit about me. Let's start there. I think that's a better place to start. I am an alumnus of Morehouse College. I graduated from Morehouse College in 2006. I got my master's in applied mathematics from Florida Institute of Technology in 2011, and then that's where I'm here, right? So it is Mr. Pfeiffer. The way I usually do my attendance, I like to get into like the Zoom waiting room like 10 minutes before the start of class and get set up, and then I like to honor the time, right? So if class starts at 6, I try to take attendance like pretty much right at 6. And then if you don't make it into that first wave, you just got to chill in the waiting room. I usually check attendance about twice, like right at 6 and whoever I get at that first wave. And then I do another wave of attendance at the 15-minute mark. So in about, 12 minutes or so, I'll check for whoever else is waiting in the waiting room. Because otherwise, it's like if I let people in as they show up, because I got to take attendance as you guys arrive, it can be very disruptive and jarring, right? And because people trickle in, like I'll get one person and then I go back to the lecture. Then like 3 seconds later, two and three people show up, right? So I just do it in two main waves: the 6 right at 6, and then right at 6:15. Okay, so best practice is I know I had at least one student in the waiting room like 10 minutes before, and then others started showing up about 5 minutes before. Somewhere between that 10 and 5 minutes before the start of class, just get in the waiting room and just kind of chill. You should be good to go as far as attendance is concerned. Okay, so this is Calculus for Business. I am Mr. Pfeiffer. My email is charles.pfeiffer@morehouse.edu. And I'm doing a new feature this semester. I am including an office cell phone number. Basically, it's just like a Google number. So you see it there. So, I use it like an office phone. So if you have questions, you can text me there. You can call me. That's probably the best way to get my attention. Email is fine. I'm really bad about checking emails because I get so many emails every day. I just become numb to it. So I still encourage you all to email me just to have it on file and just to have it on record. But for a faster response, just use my office cell phone. So you've made it into the Zoom, right? So we meet. Everything is remote. So we meet in our Zoom with that Zoom ID. And my office hours are Tuesday, Thursday morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Via Zoom. And again, like if you show up on my Zoom during that time and I'm not there, just send me a quick text because I'm usually at the desk. I might not be logged into Zoom. So just send me a quick text like, hey, can we meet? And then I'll just get into Zoom right there at that time. We meet Mondays and Wednesdays from 6 to 7:15. Is today the 17th? I think so. Is this today? Was that yesterday? That's today. So from today until May 10th. And again, we're doing via Zoom. Again, you've made it into the Zoom, so that's one of the first hurdles. As we kind of go through the presentation, if you have questions about anything, feel free to either unmute yourself or type in the chat. I am monitoring chat. Also, I want you to be aware, I do live stream these sessions, right? So I am live streaming this to my YouTube channel. It is a good idea to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel with your notifications turned on. If you're just doing a search on YouTube for my channel, you can do a search for Beautiful Mind Pfeiffer. It's a really basic channel. I don't even have like a thumbnail or a logo or anything. It's just like a purple or pink bee. I think it's purple. But I use it as like a catalog of just interactions I've had with students throughout the years. And I'll show you other ways to access it. But if you're just doing a quick search, it's Beautiful Mind Pfeiffer. A prerequisite for this course is finite mathematics, Math 110, or pre-calculus with a grade of C or better. And so for our homework online management, we're going to be using Pearson, right? So I'll show you how to access. I'll show you how to access that momentarily. It's calculus in this app. The book is Calculus in its application. The brief version, 12th edition by Bittinger. I think that's how you say that. And we will use some Excel. So that's included in our suite, our Microsoft Office suite, being students at Morehouse, right? Or being affiliated with Morehouse. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, so here we have a course description and outline. I will give you fair warning. Our pace, our rhythm is kind of accelerated, right? Our goal for the semester, we're trying to get through chapters 1 through 4. We're trying to get through 4 chapters, right? So each week we need to get through 4 sections approximately, right? For a while. And so we meet twice a week. So that means each meeting we need to be covering approximately 2 sections, right? So I'll do the best I can while we're live. Now, another reason why it's important to be subscribed to my YouTube, because the pace is kind of accelerated when we're live because I have recordings of anything I would like to say live. When we're live, I'll probably go at a leisure pace. And then whatever we're not able to finish together, I expect you to watch my pre-recorded lectures and take notes as if you're in class, write down your questions, and contact me if anything is not clear, right? So we'll do the best we can while we're live, but a lot of the learning is on your own. I also encourage you all to start a group me. I usually encourage all of my students to do a group me, just collaborate. I don't mind you guys collaborating. With our assignments, we get unlimited attempts. You can submit assignments past the due date, and there's only, I think I made a 5% late penalty for a late assignment. So if you submit something late, you should be able to earn up to 95%. And you get unlimited attempts, and the system is set to take your highest score. So I don't mind collaboration. I just need each person to submit their own work. And I think at this level, obviously a calculus course, it wouldn't serve you to just let somebody else do it and you don't learn anything. You're really going to be wasting your time because, it's a good chance that you're going to be responsible for this information in a practical environment. And oftentimes students that come out of my class, when they kind of, check in after they graduated, this information always pops back up when they go for their job interview. When they go for a job interview, one of the first things that they like to give them is a mathematics exam. That happens in so many different fields, right? And they always report back, they're like, Mr. Pfeiffer, you were right. I went to this job interview, and one of the first things they gave me was a math exam. And that's going to be proctored, and you're going to be responsible for the information, right? So, there was another case. I heard one recently. Who was it? Oh, I think it's this content creator I follow on YouTube. He goes by the name of Real Nagas, and he basically, what he does every Saturday at 3, he just kind of talks about current events. It's just him sitting in front of his phone talking, but he's kind of recapping current events. But the way he recaps is comical, because he does the voices and everything. He just he kind of relates into off the wall scenarios. It'd be really funny sometimes. But I'm bringing him up because he was talking about some. I don't know if it was like the president of Harvard, somebody in one of those positions, right? Something like that. Where what did they do? I don't know if it's because it was something that they did that people didn't like it. They felt like it was anti-Semitic or something. So I guess they dug into their history, and they realized that they plagiarized on their dissertation, right? So I think at Harvard, like, plagiarism, you're automatically like removed from the school. Students, professors, anybody, right? So they cheated, right? They didn't really do the work. And somebody dug into their past, revealed this, so forced them to lose their job. So then the person that they replaced them with was like was not anti-Semitic. I think they were like Jewish or something like that. And they were supposed to be copacetic, but then the people, and I think this professor that was fired was also linked to like President Obama. So whoever is in President Obama's crew decided, oh, well, we're going to research this new professor, and it turns out that his wife, like they had the same scandal, the same thing that they just fired that woman for. They did the same thing, like the wife was doing plagiarism, and it was all sorts of scandal like that. And so he was trying to like backpedal, like what is plagiarism really, right? So he got this other person booted for plagiarism, but then they were doing the same thing, and so now they were on the chopping block. So that was actually a current case where the plagiarism, the cheating, and these are, I mean, this is like real money, right? It surfaced to bite them in the ass, right? We are moving into the age of Aquarius, which means that like it's the information age, and you can't really lie about things in the public sector. Everything is like public domain, right? There's no privacy. So this is not the time to be lying and cheating. And plus, I'm kind of giving you a way out, like because you get unlimited attempts. Again, I just need each person to submit their own assignments. So, it's not really necessary. Just do the best you can, learn what you can. Um, I'm not really trying to be like super rigorous, even though the pace is kind of accelerated. Personally, I'm not trying to be rigorous. I'm just trying to expose you guys to these concepts. So that way, once you leave this course, we can give you a strong foundation. In the past, I think I had a more leisure pace, but then we never would get to the end of chapter 4, which is like integration. And if you don't talk about integration, you can't do things past calculus, right? Even though I know that a lot of you guys are probably business, but integration is one of those major things that you have to talk about in the calculus course, right? And so that's chapter 4. So again, the rhythm is kind of accelerated. Again, my intent right now, we are live streaming on my YouTube. I do intend to live stream. I'll check attendance again in about 2 minutes for anybody that's coming late. But yeah, so you can find a copy of our sessions as we go along on YouTube. I probably create a playlist for this term, for this semester, and there's already a playlist created for the different sections. All right. So like in chapter 1, you see we have 8 sections there. There's already a corresponding full-length, full lecture video. Anything that I would say live is already on my YouTube channel for chapters 1 through 4. Right. So I think it's from the spring of last year. Right. Let me pause for the cause. Hopefully we're all aboard, and we're not all bored. If you have questions, again, feel free to unmute yourself to get my attention or type in the chat. And again, I'll check on the people in the waiting room in about 1 minute. So by the end of next week, we need to have gone through sections 1.1 to 1.4. And then the following week is 1.5 to 1.8, right? Again, the rhythm is just about 4 sections a week, which is 2 sections every meeting, right? So, and this is our goal, chapters 1 through 4. And here's a tentative schedule, right? So we didn't meet on Monday because it was a holiday. So hopefully you all had a happy holiday, got some rest, and you're here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to knock this thing out of the park. Also, the group me is one level. I do encourage you all to go ahead and seek out the tutors as well, right? It doesn't hurt. The tutoring service from Morehouse is already included in your tuition. So, you've already paid them. And, if the sooner you can connect with them, the better, right? And also make use of my office hours. Notice we have, exam 1 over chapters 1 and 2 during week 6. I think we have 2 exams in the final, right? So exam 1 is during week 6. Exam 2 is during week 14. And then we have a final. You can see the holidays there. There's spring break. Woo, 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 woo. That's one thing I do appreciate about being a college professor, spring break. You know, you're off for like 7 days, and then you get paid summers off as a full time. I'm not full time right now, but when I was full time, it was paid summers off. Like it was, man, I was all over the place. Costa Rica, everywhere. Cozumel. Not did I go to? Yeah, Cozumel. That's where I went. Yeah, just a bunch of random places. Yeah. All right. So we'll use. Let me go ahead and pull these gentlemen in. I know that there should be gentlemen in the waiting room. Yeah. So that should be a tough lesson learned, right? Because they missed like the first 15 minutes. Let me get these gentlemen. This one. Where is this one? G. Okay. And last but not least, this one. I could probably do that somewhere else. Okay, this gentleman in. And let me check the chat. Let's see. Yep. So, welcome, gentlemen. If you're just joining us, I'll do a brief recap. So, with attendance, the way I do attendance, I do two main waves, right? So, you got your full credit today. You just missed the first 15 minutes, so don't fret. I usually do my first wave right at 6 o'clock. I personally try to get into the waiting room anywhere between 5 to 10 minutes before class starts. I like to be like waiting on the clock so I can be set up, watching the clock, and then I am live streaming these sessions to YouTube, right? So I want you to be aware of that, to my YouTube channel. So I usually like to take attendance right at 6. And then, once I get that first wave of students, I kind of ignore the waiting room until about the 15-minute mark, right? So then 15-minute mark, I do a second wave. If you get in after that 15-minute mark, you're lucky if you get attendance credit that day, right? So idealistically, if class starts at 6, try to be in the waiting room about 5 to 10 minutes before the start of class, and then you can zen out. I'm usually, I kind of a little bit chill, a little bit, sometimes not, right? But if you just like get into the waiting room and just kind of relax, then you can be fine. Or you'll be fine. Let me charge this. Let me see. And so this session again is being streamed to my YouTube. If you are doing a search on YouTube for my channel, it's Beautiful Mind Pfeiffer. It is a good idea to go ahead and subscribe to my channel and go ahead and turn on all notifications. That way, as I start posting, like responding to homework questions and posting videos, also you'll find Easter eggs in there. I am a gamer. I'll tell you a little bit about my gaming a little bit later. Just the main thing is that you're aware of what I'm posting, right? So like, oh wait, I had a question about that. Let me watch that video, or I'm fine with that. So I'll keep it moving, right? So the what you miss in the first 15 minutes, you can always, again, because I'm streaming it to my YouTube, you can go there and pull and watch what you missed in the first 15 minutes. For our homework, we will be using my math lab, right? We haven't talked about that just yet because I haven't given the instructions on that. And yeah, let's kind of keep going. So we'll use Blackboard as our central hub. That has like basically all the main links. It has a link to the Zoom. It has a link to my YouTube channel. It has a link to our box link. That's how I'll be sharing like PDFs. When you see me writing anything, I'm going to load it into the box link that's available on Blackboard. And then you can also access the homework in Blackboard. So we'll do a tour of Blackboard so you can see how to access that. And so for our grading, again, the grading is going to consist of 2 exams worth 30% each, homework and quizzes that total to about 15% of your overall grade. And then the final exam is 25% of your overall grade, right? Again, up here, we had a tentative schedule. Notice exam 1 is during week 6 over chapters 1 and 2. And then exam 2 is during week 14 over chapters 3 and 4. And then we have our holidays listed there, right? So you can always screenshot that or review it on the recording or whatever. Grading rationale is like normal. We're using the A plus, A minus, or A plus, A minus system, right? So you can see it there. Let me see. So all assignments are already available for the entire semester right now, with the exception of the exams, right? So once you gain access to Blackboard and our assignments there, you'll see all the homework for the semester. You should see all the quizzes for the semester. Only thing you don't have access to right now are our exams in the final, right? Additionally, the corresponding full pre-recorded lectures are available for each section. So you don't really have to wait on me. You could watch those lectures. I know some students watch it at like double speed, so you could pick up essentially what you need from there. You could always slow it down or whatever, but those recordings are available. You can actually get ahead, and you can go ahead and do all of your homework and quizzes for the semester, and then you just be waiting on the exams, right? You don't have to wait on me, because anything that I would say live is already available in those recordings. I'm just doing a live presentation just for the sake of doing it, but most of the learning is done on your own. Okay. So hopefully, hopefully you guys are okay. Again, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself to get my attention and we can talk about it, or type in the chat. And I think there was a question, do we have unlimited attempts on all assignments? Yeah. Homework, quizzes, even the exams, you get unlimited attempts. The system is set to take your highest score, and you can submit any assignment past the due date, but the hard deadline for all assignments is like the end of the semester, like that Friday during the week of finals, right? So as long as you get all of your assignments submitted before the semester ends, you can get most credit, right? If you submit something late, the highest you can earn is a 95%. There's a 5% late penalty. Okay. So that kind of addresses the makeup policy. You know, you don't have to ask for it. It's already built into the structure, right? So if you just missed it or whatever, you can still submit it late. It's just the highest you can earn is a 95%. The withdrawal policy, the last day you can withdraw from the course is Monday, March 25th, 2024. I think that's like with a W. I think after that, if you try to withdraw, it'll be a WF. The last day of class is Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. And then the final exams are, I guess, that first full week of May, May 6th through the 10th. So the hard deadline for all assignments should be that May 10th at 11:59 p.m. I want to say assignments are due generally on a weekly basis. The due date is next to each assignment. So we'll pull that up in just a moment. Let me see. Do I have the number of credits for this? Let me see if it's at the top. I should have the credits there. But yeah, I think you're allowed up to 3 unexcused absences, right? So for me, it's like, okay, once you hit that 4th unexcused absence, then you could be potentially dropped from the course. It can mess with your money. You may or may not be able to get back into the course. It's just not worth it. Really, at a minimum, I really just need you guys to just get into the waiting room anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes before the start of class, and then you can zen out. Originally when I was started teaching remote, I asked guys a question. I was like, okay, guys, what do you think about this? And then I hear crickets, and it used to frustrate me and irritate me. I was like, come on, guys, just answer. It's not difficult. Because, like, obviously, if we were live, I can kind of be in your face a little bit, look you in the eye, kind of play on the energy a little bit. But remote is a lot more challenging. So I've kind of let that thing go. So, like, I might pose a question here or there. I'll wait. I'll give you like a few seconds, and then if I hear crickets, I just keep it moving. Right? I've kind of gotten used to, it's okay. I've kind of let it go. Like, if you guys don't want to respond, that's okay. But being passive in something like this is not a good idea. But if do whatever makes you comfortable. But you do got to get uncomfortable a little bit, right? So try to speak up every now and then, answer questions, engage, make your presence known. It makes a difference. But if you're just like passive, not answering questions, kind of quiet, mute all the time, you can kind of get by, but that can be a slippery slope, right? But at a minimum, at least just show up and get your attendance credit, and then do the best you can with the assignments. Again, if you joined us late, I do encourage a group me, right? So I don't know if somebody wants to start that in the chat or something. I encourage it. I think it's a good idea. Each one teach one, collaborate. That's honestly how I learned a lot of this material. I had a natural talent for it, and then so I eventually became a tutor, and I essentially just never stopped tutoring. That's essentially what it is. Like, I started tutoring, and so trying to explain it to my classmates, it forced me to kind of look at it from multiple angles and perspectives, and it made me learn it that much more. Then when I got to grad school, it did that aspect just kept going. Some of those things in grad school was like bonkers, but yeah. So I do encourage collaboration. The main thing is I just need each person to submit their own work. So disability services, if you need any kind of special accommodation, you can contact that number at the end of that paragraph, and they'll give you a letter that you can like email to me, give to me discreetly, and we can make sure that you're accommodated. With this being a remote course, obviously, I personally don't mind if you're using cell phones or laptops. I just need each person to submit their own work. It's a lot of work, by the way. If you're joining us late, the pace is kind of rigorous. It's a fast pace because the sections are kind of long, and we kind of need to get through 2 sections every time we meet. Starting next week, we might do 1 section today, maybe. But whatever we don't finish together, I do expect you to use my pre-recorded lectures, because I usually with my pre-recorded lectures, I take my time and I just try to hit on each example through all the details. Because it's a recording that I plan to use in the future, so I take my time. When we're live, our time is limited. We only have so much time together. So so a lot of times when we're live, I have to cut it short, and so then for all the details, you have to watch my recordings. And we already had a discussion on cheating and plagiarism. Currently, like a current event where high power was losing their job because it surfaced that they plagiarized. Right, we're talking 6 figures, like real money. So that's it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And what this is just a document saying that you've gone through the syllabus. You can fill this out, but just keep it on file. I used to collect these, but I'm not going to collect this right now. Let me check in you guys in Zoom, and we'll at least do the first section. Let's see. Cool, you guys look good. And let me check the chat. How many chapters does the quiz cover? Okay, yeah. So let's do that tour, and this should answer that question. So let's start off on Blackboard. Let's hop over to Blackboard and do a tour there. This is here. And they've recently changed like Blackboard and Bannerweb, like changed the layout or whatever. So if we log into Blackboard from the portal, right, you should see something that looks like this. So then on the left-hand panel, it says courses. I'm going to click on courses, and I'm going to click on our course, which is this Calculus for Business Spring of 24. And so I made this the landing page. This is our course content. So we're going to go ahead and click on Calculus for Business Spring. We're going to open up that folder. So if you made it into the Zoom, that's the first hurdle, right? So that's the very first thing. Every time we meet, that should work. It seems like it's working because you guys are here. So whenever you see me writing something, I'm going to put a copy of it right here in this item number 2 that says Daily Lecture Notes Box Link. It's like it's Box, right? It's the file sharing app. So I'll load them into there, and you can find, a copy of the syllabus, our notes every time we meet, and just anytime I'm like doing a PDF, I put it in there. And then so for Pearson, it's this folder, this item number 3. This is all assignments. So our homework, quizzes, and exams are going to be in item number 3, where it says all assignment. We'll open that up in just a moment. I'm actually going to open up this item number 4, Professor Pfeiffer's YouTube link, which again, my YouTube channel is called Beautiful Minds. So if I click on that link, it takes me over to YouTube, and it takes me directly to, notice it says Calculus for Business Spring 24, all full lectures, right? So what this playlist is, this is each section, right? You can see section 1.1, 1.2, right? These are the full lectures. You can see all of chapter 1, all of chapter 2, chapter 3, and yeah, it looks like it's all there, right? So anything that I would say live is already in these recordings. You can actually watch these on your own with the course and do the corresponding assignments. You don't have to wait on me. Okay, so that's our YouTube. And let's go ahead and take a look at our assignment. So if I click on folder number or item number 3, this is all assignments. When I open that folder, it takes us to this. So we're using My Math Lab. And the link that you need is the first one. Now, when you click on that first link that says My Math Lab All Assignments, it's going to prompt you to register. I think you do have to pay for full access. I do encourage you to go ahead and get the 2-week free trial, right? So on the page, when you're registering, when you're prompted for payment, at the bottom of the page where you're prompted for payment, you should see an option that says get 14 days of free access. Click on that link when you know you're within 2 weeks of ready to, to pay for it. It costs, to think, about $120, right? Now, in past semesters, they did offer a discount. I don't know if that's still available. I think right now it's a good idea to just go ahead and get the 14-day free trial and get started, because you don't want this work to pile up. And just be ready to dish out right at about $130 within 2 weeks. There might be a discount available. I'd have to check with Dr. Clark to see if they're going to offer that this term or not. But you definitely don't want to sit back and wait. You don't want to procrastinate with this, because again, it's a fast pace. It's a lot of work, and it's easy to fall behind, and then trying to play catch up. Is already tough. But as long as you make a plan, if as long as you make a plan and take some action, I think you'll be okay. It's doable. Again, you get unlimited attempts. There's only a 5% late penalty. You have access to the recordings already available. And again, my recommendation is try to finish this work as soon as possible. Because once we start taking exams, we start getting to midterm, and especially around the final, you're going to be responsible. I mean, you guys are aware of this, but you're going to have, projects and exams in all of your classes, right? So if you can go ahead and knock this one out, when the midterm and the final rolls around, that's one less thing that you have to you have to worry about. You can already be done with, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click on My Math Lab All Assignments. Again, it's going to prompt you to register. Again, I do encourage you to go ahead and get the 14-day free trial. Now, I'm working on an iPad, so this does work for iOS. And so once you get registered, it looks like this. It should look like this, right? And again, there's another link into my YouTube. It should take you directly to that playlist. I'm also creating a separate playlist for this semester, right? So for every time we meet, anything that I'm doing with the students for spring of 24, I'm going to put it into another playlist, right? And so you can see, so the I guess teal or blue circles, those are our homework assignments. That little green flag to the left of the orange or golden box, that means a prerequisite, right? So in order to access those quizzes, there are prerequisites that you have to satisfy. And then the quizzes are basically on a weekly basis. Let me see. I think I made the first couple of assignments, not due next week, but not next week, but the week after next, right? And then from there, they'll be doing a weekly basis, right? So weeks 1 and 2 I kind of put together into week 2. Okay. Because this is week 1, next week is week 2. Yeah. Right. And so the corresponding due dates for our assignments are to the left. The golden or orange boxes, those are our quizzes. And again, the exams are not available right now. We said exam 1. Notice it goes from week 5 to week 7. That's because during week 6, that's when we have exam 1. And then week 14, so at the end of week 13, that's when we have exam 2. And then shortly after that, we have the final. Okay. So hopefully, again, we're all aboard, and we're not all bored. Let me check the chat to see if you guys have any questions. And also, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself. Let me see if I check the chat. Is that the chat?
I had a question. So
give me.
My Math Lab.
Go ahead.
I was saying, is My Math Lab and the homework the same thing, or those are two different things we have to get?
That's the same thing.
All right.
The homework is in My Math Lab. Yeah. Yeah, unlimited attempts. We get unlimited attempts on all assignments. How many chapters does the quiz cover? So the quizzes are based on that week, right? I think I labeled the quizzes so you know what they covered. right? For instance, if we look at the quiz from week 1, it covers sections 1.1 and 1.2. Quiz for week 2, it covers sections 1.3 and 1.4. All right. And then week 3 covers 4 sections. I think it's 4 sections from there on out for a while. Okay. It does slow down kind of towards the end, but initially, like for the first half of the semester, the pace is kind of accelerated. So we'll take some time. I do want to kind of go ahead and do at least one section today. So let me see. I guess I'll go ahead and let me share this with you all. So this was the syllabus that we just went through. I'll send it to Box. Let me put it into the right folder. This is the spring of 24. This is traditional calculus for business. The notes updated daily. No, those are the blank ones. Uh-oh. That's the wrong. Oops, I need another folder. Okay, I'll put it here for now. Handwritten notes. Oh, maybe this is it. Okay, I'll put it here into handwritten notes. I should change that to updated daily. I'll put it here for now. Okay. So then this is basically, that's just a copy of the syllabus. I didn't write anything, but you know, anyway. Okay, so let's do the first section. And I'll probably let you guys go a little bit early today. I do have like a scheduling conflict. But I do want to kind of work on this first section. Now, let me see, what is it called? This one is limits and numerical and graphical approach. Let me, limits and numerical and graphical approach. So this is 1.1 limits, numerical and graphical. So this is what, week 1. This is what, Wednesday. This is Wednesday at what, 6 p.m. This is Morehouse College, traditional spring of 24. Okay. Oh, and let's do this. Calculus for business. That's my little shorthand, right? Instead of, because, you know, instead of having this long title. Okay, I think that works. Okay, calculus for business, Morehouse College, traditional spring of 24. Okay. All right, so let's go to view, and we'll do the best we can. I'll do about 20 minutes. All right. I want to stop it right at about 7 o'clock because I need to meet with another group. But going forward, it shouldn't be an issue. We'll go single page. I click on single page. Okay. Why does it look weird? Okay. Come on. All right. So let's see. We have calculus and its applications, and calculus and its applications brief version. That's weird. Chapter 1 is on differentiation. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and summarize differentiation the simplest way I know how. The differentiation, sometimes you hear us refer to it as the derivative. It's really slope, right? It's the slope of a tangent line at a point, right? But it's a slope of a tangent line. That's the simplest way I can kind of like summarize it. Now, some of the concepts that we kind of use to introduce, it could be a little bit like jarring a little bit, but just get past that. Once you get past it, it gets, to me, in my opinion, it gets much easier. Like the introduction might be a little bit weird, but once you get past the intro, it gets overly simplified, especially once we start working on the shortcuts. Like, you know, you'll see it, all right? So I don't want you to be intimidated by anything that you see. I just want you to be aware that the initial introduction might be a little jarring, but just on the other side of it, especially once we start working like some of those shortcuts, it gets much simpler in my opinion, right? So the derivative is just the simplest way I can summarize it is the slope of the tangent line at a point. Now, there's a little bit more nuance and a little bit more details we need to go into about that, but that's an oversimplification of what we mean by the derivative. Now, let's go through some of those details. What do we mean by all of that, right? So now we're gonna introduce differentiation with section 1.1 limits, a numerical and graphical approach, right? A limit. When you think of the word limit, right? What's the limit? How far can you push it? What happens when you take it to the nth degree, right? So that's essentially what we're going to be exploring. When we start to explore the limit, we're concerned with what happens when you get really close to a number on either side, coming from the left or coming from the right, or what happens as x goes off to positive infinity or as x goes off to negative infinity, right? We want to know what happens. What are the limits? If you push it to the nth degree, right? So let's see how this can unfold. Now we have one main objective here. Find limits of functions if they exist using numerical or graphical methods, okay? So in this example 1, for each sequence, determine its limit and rewrite the sequence in the form. Let me grab my pen. We can probably plug you back in so you can charge. Come on. There you go. So this is red, right? This some symbology, these symbols. This is red. X. Let me see. Rewrite the sequence in the form as x approaches a from the left. Right, the minus means from the left. In this form, this is as x approaches a from the left. This other one is as x approaches a from the right. Let me do that one more time. When you can read the symbols properly, it helps to explain the concept better, in my opinion, right? So this is as x approaches a from the left. This other one is as x approaches a from the right. So again, remember, when we're talking about limits, we're concerned with what happens as we get close to this value a coming from either the left or the right. As we get closer and closer and closer, what happens to our graph? What happens to the y value? Or what happens to the y value as x goes off to positive infinity or as x goes to negative infinity, right? If we push it to the limit. Every time I say limit, in my mind, I hear, push it to the limit, like the montage, I think it was in Teenage Mutant Mayhem, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the fighting montage. They're like, push it to the limit. Yes, it's stuck in my mind. Anyway, all right. So let's look at this first one, right? So now we're given 2.24, and then 2.249, 2.2499, 2.24999, right? So what's happening here, right? We're getting closer and closer and closer to what number? It looks like we're getting closer and closer and closer to what? Like it's 2.25.
Yeah.
So here, let's write it like this. As x approaches, let me see. Well, anyway, basically x is approaching 2.25 from the left, right? This x is approaching 2.25 coming from the left, right? So our a in this case looks like it's 2.25, right? Because these numbers are just slightly to the left of 2.25. The next number will be 4 nines and then 5 nines, right? So that's where we're getting close to, right? The second part B, we have 5.51 and then 5.501 and then 5.5001 and then 0001. So we're getting closer and closer and closer to what number, right? So it looks like x is approaching what? Hopefully you're thinking 5.5. Are we coming from the left of 5.5 or from the right? All right. If you put this on the number line, all of these numbers are slightly to the right of 5.5. So x is approaching 5.5 from the right. So that's why we put a plus. Okay. So what is this? 0.5, 0.75. Okay, well, I don't know those numbers, but you should be able to see like what number are these getting close to. And here, let me highlight these guys. So that was my result there. That was my result there. All right, so we got like a half, 3/4, 7/8, 5/16. These numbers are getting closer and closer and closer to what? It looks like x is approaching what? 1 coming from the left. Okay. So we got 2.25 from the left, 5.5 from the right, and then 1 from the left. Hopefully that's okay. X is approaching 5.5 from the right here, 2.25 from the left, 5.5 from the right, and 1 from the left. All right. So that's okay. So hopefully that's okay. Let me see the time. We got a solid 15. We really got more like 30 minutes, but I'm gonna be kind of lax today.
So we were
So as
just.
X approaches,
I had a question. So for those, like in that example right there, were we just like, say we get that question, we were just supposed to write like how they're approaching it,
yeah,
or
we were just asking like, what's the limit? Like determine the limit. So they gave us a
yeah,
sequence of numbers. They're like, these numbers are getting closer and closer to what? And is it getting closer to the number from the left, or is it coming from the right? Right.
right?
So so we're saying that this is the limit. X is approaching 2.25 from the left. X is approaching 5.5 from the right. X is approaching 1 from the left, right? So we're saying that these are the limits of those sequences.
Because the number is
Yeah.
getting bigger, essentially, like in that last example.
Well, they're getting, but they're not going above a certain number,
Right,
right?
but they're getting closer
This
to it.
is getting closer and closer to 1 coming from the left, right?
Right.
Because the next one, I don't know. I don't know what the next one will be. It looks like the denominator is doubling. So it'll probably be like 128, maybe like 127 over 128, and then 255 over 256, something like that. Right. But they're just going to keep getting closer and closer to 1 coming from the left. Go ahead.
I got a question. I don't really understand how you determine if it's coming from the right or from the left.
Okay. So let's look at it like this. Let's look at the first one. Let's look at the number line. All right. Positive X goes off to the right. Say this is 2 and say this is 3, right? So then 2.24, right? Like 2.24 is about here. Is that okay? Like say that's about, I'm just approximating. Say that's 2.24. And then we do 2.249, right? So then that might be about here. And then 2.2499 might be about here. And it's just like it's getting closer and closer, but it's not going above a certain number, right? You can almost put this in your calculator as 2.24 and then just do a whole bunch of nines, and it might just automatically collapse it to your desired number. Let me see if I can pull that up. All right. I feel like with just some practice and exposure, that'll kind of sink in a little bit more. Add a loading line. I agree. Choose the file. Choose the file. No, not PowerPoint. Choose the file. Okay. I think it's here. Calculator. Where is it? Oh, I have that thing. Spring courses. Okay, random. Random again, and then maybe it's here. Where is that folder? Sorry, guys, give me just a moment. It always like resets this for some reason. I know it's here. Let's go back one more. I think I tried this one already. Okay, I think it's this one right here. Sorry, I had to find my file. And then once I find it once, it should be good going forward. Let me see the time. We got like a few minutes. Okay, so let me see if this will work. If I did like 2.24 and I just did a whole bunch of nines, let's see what happens. See? It says that's essentially 2.25, right? Even if we did for part B, what's the pattern? They're doing 5.5, a whole bunch of zeros, and then a 1. That's essentially 5.5. So then all this sequence of numbers, so now that we're clear about the limit, notice that all those, like for the first one, all those sequence of numbers are on the left side. Like if you put them on a number line, they're on the left side of 2.25, right? They're not bigger than 2.5, they're smaller, but they're getting closer and closer and closer. They're approaching 2.25 from the left-hand side of 2.25. The right-hand side would be something like 2.2500001, right? When usually, I mean, you just got to realize if you're approaching it from the right or from the left, right? And you can kind of visualize that by just like plotting them on a number line, right? I feel like with just a little bit of exposure and practice and repetition, you'll get it, right? Let's keep going. Okay, I think we got all of these. So as x approaches a, the limit of f of x is L written. Now let's read this. This is where the limit as x approaches a of f of x equals L. Okay. If all values of f of x are close to L for values of x that are sufficiently close but not equal to a, right? So we say that the limit as x approaches a of f of x equals L if all values of f of x are close to L for values of x that are sufficiently close to but not equal to a. So we're not really, the limit, we're not concerned with what happens exactly at that point. We're concerned with what happens when you're close to that point on either the left-hand side or the right-hand side. It's almost as if like, kind of like Ant-Man, and the Marvel, and he can like zoom down, like on the real number line, slightly to the left of any number or slightly to the right, you have infinite points, right? Even though it might be in a small compact space, if you zoom in like Ant-Man, you'll find infinite points, infinite rational numbers and infinite irrational numbers. No matter how far you zoom in, how small you make the scale, you'll find infinite points, right? So the limit is more concerned with what happens when you're close to a number. What happens when you're close to a number, either coming from the left or coming from the right, is not really concerned with at that point. All right. That's one takeaway. Okay, let's see if we can see it in action. So as x approaches a, the limit of f of x is L. If the limit exists, if the limit from the left exists and the limit from the right exists, and both limits are the same, right? So we say that as x approaches a, the limit of f of x is L if the limit from the left exists, the limit from the right exists, and both of those limits are the same number, right? Because sometimes as you approach a number coming from the left, you get one result, and then approaching that same number from the right, you get a different result. If that happens, we say the limit at that number does not exist, right? So a quick recap. We say that the limit exists if as you approach a number from the left, the limit exists. You approach that same number from the right, the limit exists, and both of those limits are equal. Then we say the limit as x approaches a equals whatever that number is, right? So that's what this is saying. The limit as x approaches a from the left equals L. The limit as x approaches a from the right equals L. So then that means we can say that the limit as x approaches a equals L. This one's from the left. This one's from the right. Because they're the same value, right? Then we can say that the limit as x approaches a equals L. Okay. The left-hand side equals the right-hand side. Okay. So given this, what is f of 3? Okay, that shouldn't be too bad. We can just plug that in, right? When x is 3, what's the corresponding y? So I'll just do it here. F of 3, that's going to be what? 3 squared minus 9 over 3 minus 3. I think it's what? Undefined, right? Because we get 0 over 0. So that's a hole or a gap in the graph. So we're going to say undefined. All right? Because we get 0 over 0. Now, what's the limit as x approaches 3? Now, for the limit, a simple way you can do it is test values, right? If we're approaching 3, we need to confirm that the limit on the left equals the limit on the right. So if we're concerned about 3, give me a number close to 3 to the left of 3. What's a number that's close to 3 but to the left? A decimal. Okay, we can start at 2. So like, for instance, So let's look at as x approaches 3 from the left, right? If we made a table, if we did x versus f of x, I heard 2, right? You plug in 2, you get an answer. Then maybe we might do something like 2.9, we get an answer. We do something like 2.99, we get an answer. Do something like 2.999. Notice how these are getting closer and closer and closer to 3 coming from the left-hand side, right? You'll get an answer for all of those. Now we can use our trusty dusty Rusty.
Professor.
Yep.
I don't mean to interrupt you or nothing. So the best way to you think to figure these problems out in equations is to make a table?
It's not the best way. This is one way.
Okay.
This is the simple way that I have, right? I'm just doing one technique for right now. Yeah, because there are definitely some other techniques that we can and will use. And this is just, I'm just really just trying to drive home the concept first, and then we'll start exploring some more sophisticated methods. Yeah. So we have x squared minus 9 divided by, didn't get it, divided by x minus 3, right? So at 3 is a hole in the graph. Now, if we were to simplify the original, what is that? X minus 3 times x plus 3. So then it's really a line, right? It's really just x plus 3 with a hole at x equals 3, right? So if you were to look at this graph, it's really just the graph of y equals x plus 3 with a hole when x is equal to 3, right? So then it should be approaching 6. If the graph is y equals x plus 3, as we approach 3 coming from the left or the right, the y value should be getting closer and closer to 6. Let's try it here with this table method first to confirm. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I just put the original into my y equals x squared minus 9 divided by x minus 3. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, on the right-hand side of the calculator is a button that says clear. Left of that is a button that says VARS. I think that's short for variables. We're going to have to wrap this up. I'm going to go to the right to go to y variables and click on number 1 for function and number 1 again. So now I want to evaluate this when x is 2. Right? When x is 2, the corresponding y is 5. Now I'm just going to recall that. I want to evaluate it at 2.9. Now we're at 5.9. All right. Now let's evaluate it at 2.99. See, notice those y values are getting closer and closer and closer to 6. Okay, so that's coming from the left. So we can say, I'll just put it here, the limit as x approaches 3 from the left looks like it's 6. Y's are getting closer and closer to 6. Okay. So now let's look at the limit as x approaches 3 from the right. Okay. So again, just for introductory purpose, now again, there are other techniques. I kind of described the other technique just a moment ago, but for introductory purposes, I'm doing this one for right now, just to kind of drive the concept home. So then I need a number to the right of 3. So we can start at 4. And then if we're kind of getting closer, we could do something like 3.1. We're getting closer to 3 coming from the right. So we might do something like 3.01, right? Something like 3.001, right? And if you just wanted to, you could do 3 and keep going, right? As many iterations you feel like you need. So now in that same one, now quit. I wanna let's do 4. Let's go ahead and do 4. We get 7, right? Then if we put in 3.1, 3.1, we're at 6.1, right? Come on, thank you. Let's do 3.01, 6.01, right? So the next one should be 00. Oops, enter. Right, so 6.001 and then 6.0001, right? So notice as x approaches 3 coming from the right-hand side, the limit as x approaches 3 from the right is equal to 6, right? So the limit from the left equals 6, the limit from the right equals 6. So then because those two limits are equal, we would say the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x equals 6. Okay. All right. So I think for the first one, we got undefined, so it does not exist. And then here's the table method, right? From the left, we got the same thing. From the right, we got that. Because the left-hand limit equals the right-hand limit, then we say the limit as x approaches 3 of f of x equals 6. Okay. So that's all that we have time for today. I think this is an example where you might have different limits on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. We'll probably pick this back up next week. But again, my recommendation, you definitely want to go ahead and try to knock out the first 4 sections. This week, I just kind of did that as an introduction. But next week, our goal is to get through sections 1.4, so that we need to be doing about 2 sections a meeting next week. But if you've already done them in advance, that'll be better. So the more of you guys that I can get to do this stuff in advance, the better. Okay. Are there any burning questions before we go our separate ways?
I had a quick
So the topics we went over were limits, definition, and is there anything else, like, just so I could write it down and just
yeah. So this recording is available on my YouTube channel. We only made it through the first example. We just kind of introduced the concept of limits. All right, and I'm gonna make a copy of this. All the stuff you saw me writing, I'm gonna make it available in that PDF link I was talking about.
On Blackboard, right?
Blackboard, yep.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Was there another question?
Everybody typing in for a group meeting, correct?
I had another
Yeah,
question.
that's yes.
Well, not necessarily like focused question, but more so in terms of like best practices in order to make sure like that we do well in the class. What would you say is like like the best way to make sure we stay on top of these things, and also kind of like maybe like a little bit ahead of the curve when it comes to like getting ready for these next classes?
The name of the game is time management. So the sooner my recordings are available, so it's time management. You got to make a plan. It takes at least like anywhere from 3 to 4 hours every day, about 4 to 5 times throughout the week. All right, maybe not 7. I don't think 7 days a week is a good idea, but at least 4 or 5 days out of the week, you need to be working on this for about 3 or 4 hours a day. If you can either connect with like a classmate or a tutor, that's ideal. And you can make your way through use my pre-recorded lectures. Just try to get ahead. Just go ahead and try to knock it out. If you have questions or if you can't figure something out, you write it down and run it past me. But procrastination is the opposite of what you're trying to do, right? Is you want to get out ahead.
Yeah.
All
right, awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. All right, gentlemen, I got to get going. I got to try to catch my other students. So with that, we're going to go ahead and end the session here. And from one beautiful mind to another, have a great weekend, guys, and we'll meet back on Monday, same time, same place. Take care, guys. Peace.